one of the most underreported stories of the past 40 years, how Fortune 500 companies rely on prison labor. I'm a broken record on this, but we all talk about the loophole in the 13th Amendment. Michelle Alexander writes about it. We all love to talk about it, but we never really talk about what that loophole has created, and that is prison labor. It's amazing how underreported this story is. Now, I have a friend, a black friend in Los Angeles. One night he was sitting in his car. He's a young man. He was parked on the street taking a nap. He was tired. He was in between jobs, taking a nap in his car on the street where he lives. The cops see an African-American sleeping behind the wheel of his car, get out. They search him. No probable cause, no warrant. They search his car, no probable cause, no warrant, and they found marijuana in Los Angeles. It was medical marijuana. He produced the prescription for his medical marijuana. He was not stoned. No warrant, no crime, and they arrested him. And because he has little money, he did 7 days in Los Angeles County Jail because he couldn't afford the bail. And he finally goes before a judge, and the judge releases him. The judge says, no crime, well, you're free. No apologies. The judge didn't question why he was arrested for possession of legal medical marijuana. The judge never says this is false arrest, which it is. But even though it was false arrest, they fingerprinted my friend. They took his mugshot, and now there's a record that he's been arrested. He's in the system. He's in the system now. So the next time my friend gets pulled over, the cops will look up his record and they will see that he has, this is an important phrase, he has an arrest record. He has an arrest record. Think about this. Not a record of being convicted. He has an arrest record. So they arrest him again for being black and having an arrest record. And you keep arresting these African-American males for no reason whatsoever. This is catch and release. You build a false case against them, a false record. Arrest record, no convictions, just arrest records. And eventually enough arrest records are recorded, they get charged with a felony when they commit even the most minor crime or are believed to have committed a minor crime that they're innocent of, and their public defender says, plea out. Just go to prison for a year. Look, the judge is going to look at your arrest record. I'm telling you, plea out. And that's why our jails are disproportionately black. That's how our jails become disproportionately black and people of color. You have a black man, never convicted of a crime, who just pleaded out, working for free in that prison, building furniture for a department store. The media will go so far as the loophole in the 13th Amendment, and that's where they stop. Every white, entitled neoliberal knows about the loophole in the 13th Amendment, but they never talk about what that means, what that loophole means, because they are the beneficiaries of the loophole in the 13th Amendment. The reason we are locking up innocent black men is partly racism and partly the loophole in the 13th Amendment that dates back to Reconstruction, when white plantation owners felt cheated because the slaves had been freed and they needed to rely on prison labor. And that system since Reconstruction, thanks to the 13th Amendment, the loophole in the 13th Amendment. That system remains intact to this day. And they never call out the Fortune 500 companies that benefit from the amendment, the loophole in the 13th Amendment, because they are sponsoring MSNBC, CNN, and of course, the New York, every place else. So what my friend was left with was an arrest record that will eventually, if he's not lucky, it will lead to something called coercive plea bargaining. Coercive plea bargaining, coercive plea bargaining. They get you on something, anything, even though you're innocent. Maybe you're guilty, but most likely innocent. And because of your arrest record, not your conviction record, because of your arrest record being so long, never convicted, your arrest record, you never go to trial. You're told first by the prosecutor and then by your lawyer to plea out. This is what coercive plea bargaining means. Make your life easy and plea out. But I'm innocent. I know you think you're innocent. You may be innocent, but you have this arrest record. You have this arrest record, not a conviction record. Make your life easier, plea out, because if you force a trial, then the judge and the prosecutor will not be so lenient. It's a coercive plea bargain. We see it all the time on Law and Order, where the prosecutor says, don't make things difficult for me, because if you make it difficult for me, I'm going to make it difficult for you. You put me and the city through the aggravation of having to give you a trial, all the expenses and time that we have to invest in your trial. I'm going to, if they find you guilty, I am going to send you away forever, to send a message to all future criminals. Do not ask for a trial, because if you ask for a trial and you get one and you're convicted, we will punish you not just for the crime you committed, but for the trial. You will get more time served for forcing the trial than the crime you actually committed. You are punished in America for demanding a trial more than you are for the crime you committed. Because if you don't ask for a trial, they lighten your sentence. So make it easy on yourself and take this plea. And they take the plea even though so many of them are innocent. It's called a coercive plea bargain. A coercive plea bargain where poor people, people of color, they just plea out, even though they're innocent, even though the Sixth Amendment guarantees the rights of criminal defendants. The Sixth Amendment guarantees the right to a public trial, a speedy one at that, the right to a lawyer, the right to an impartial jury, and the right to know who your accusers are and the nature of the charges and evidence against you. That's all in the Sixth Amendment, which should be applicable, but we don't want to pay taxes. We don't want to pay taxes. So a speedy trial, we don't want to pay. Who pays for that? Taxpayers. We don't want that. Save us money. If you save us money, if you take the plea, you'll serve less time. But if you exercise your Sixth Amendment right to a speedy trial, we are going to punish you more for that than we will for the crime you committed. This is America, where the Sixth Amendment is written into the Constitution, but it's eclipsed because we don't want to pay taxes. And we also have the 13th Amendment, the loophole. 13th Amendment frees the slaves unless we lock them up, in which case they can be forced to work for free, which they are. As I said, in Texas, prisoners are picking cotton for free. Some states, the prisoners get like $1 a day, which is pretty much slavery. Our economy is built on free labor, either here or overseas. If you're being paid $4 a day it might as well be free labor. We use prisoners in America to build our furniture in America, to take our airline reservations, even to work for credit card companies. I've been over this, and I will continue to be over this. I'm not over this. I will continue to cover this. Read The New Jim Crow, read Michelle Alexander. It's the new Jim Crow. The only people who haven't been all over this story is the media. They don't cover what that loophole in the 13th Amendment means because their sponsors are the beneficiaries of that loophole, as is our Capitol, as is Nancy Pelosi. Everything that was destroyed on January 6th, the window panes, the furniture, all of it, every inch of the Capitol was restored by prisoners. Why? Because it's the law. It is the law that any furniture, any window frame that the federal government buys must first be, a bid must be made, offered to the federal prison services. I forgot the name of the agency, but there's a federal agency, and they sell, it's the federal government selling furniture and all different types of wares to the federal government. It's written in the law that if you're working for the Justice Department and you need a new table, you have to buy it from the Federal Prison Industries Agency. I'm not getting the name correct, but that is the law. And of course, the media never discusses prison labor or the fact that prisons, especially private prisons, are the reasons we have prisons. We have prisons in America not to prevent crime, not to rehabilitate criminals. We know that. We know people learn to become criminals in prison. We have prisons in America because there's money to be made from having prisons. Prisons create jobs. And when they're privately run, they create profits. Prisons, for profit, state prisons, federal prisons, they all use free labor to make money, lending its inmates out to slaughterhouses, candle makers, and farms that need picking. If you get arrested, especially if you're a person of color, you're not going to trial, you're going to prison. Let me say that again, categorically. If you get arrested, especially if you're a person of color, you are not going to trial, you are going to prison. And if you ask for a trial, the mere asking for a trial, if you get a trial, you will be punished more for demanding a trial than you will be for the crime you committed. That is the United States of America. According to the Pew Research Center in 2018, 80,000 Americans were arrested by the federal government and charged with the crime. We have about 2.5 million people behind bars. In order to fill those prisons, we have to arrest a lot of people each year. In 2018, 80,000 Americans were arrested by the federal government and charged with the crime. Of those, only 2% got a trial. 2% of the 80,000 Americans who were arrested by the federal government in 2018 got a trial. The Atlantic magazine reports that 97% of federal convictions are the result of plea bargains. Emily Yoffe, Yoffe, wrote about this in the Atlantic magazine, and I quote, "This is the age of the plea bargain. Most people adjudicated in the criminal justice system today waive the right to a trial and the host of protections that go along with one, including the right to appeal. Instead, they plea guilty. Most felony convictions are now the result of plea bargains, some 94% at the state level and some 97% at the federal level. Estimates for misdemeanor convictions run even higher," she goes on to write, These are astonishing statistics, and they reveal a stark new truth about the American criminal justice system. Very few cases go to trial. That's in the Atlantic magazine, and a piece written by Emily Yoffe, Yoffe. This is your country.